at Sebring 2018, it's time for the race around or the drive-by viewing of all the aircraft that we've got here. Here's the Atoll. This is just a model of the Atoll, but they're going to have an actual aircraft in the United States before long, partly because, yes, they made their first sale here, so congratulations to the folks at Atoll. Then we're going by the big indoor tent. There's a lot of stuff inside there as well. We looked at some of those. You'll see other videos about them, but we can't go in there with the cart, so we'll just continue on and go have a look at Spencer Aircraft. This is one of those suppliers that's got something for everybody, and you'll see more and more detailed video later, but Spencer Aircraft out of Washington State, also with a facility here in Sebring, has everything you can imagine, from actual parts, nuts and bolts, to all these supplies you're seeing in the view right now. They've been busy here. They got a great location. This year at Sebring, there's been a lot of good vendors, over 100 vendors on the field. There's been good traffic. There's been airplanes sold by a number of different vendors. So I would say the 14th running of Sebring is working out really well. As we move down the line here, we're going to start passing by a lot of aircraft, and coming up first is the Autogyro. This is a company out of Germany that is the market leader in gyro planes and these modern, lovely aircraft they've got. You're seeing the blue, Miami blue Cavalon there in the front with the MTO Sport in the middle, and the naked one, they call it, because it's wide open with no body just beyond that, and concluding with another deep blue Cavalon. That's a side-by-side gyro. Very interesting. Next up, Evolution Trikes, and their 3 models they've got now. Revo, you see there first in the Bumblebee configuration. Then the Rev, that's their 103, and you see it looking kind of odd, but that's how they pack that down. Followed by the Revolt coming up next there. Next one up in the line is the Aero Strike. That's the A22. They've had quite a good run there, selling a lot of airplanes, and more to come from that company. Next up, Zenith, and Zenith has had quite a crowd around this. They got the cruiser there you saw first, but now what you're seeing is the Super Duty, and this has been drawing a crowd. It's got a big engine in it. The one they've got in there now is a Lycoming, but they're also using this Viking engine, will be in one, and is going to their contest, to a contest up in Valdez to see how well it can get off the ground quickly. I'll bet it'll do great. 180 horsepower going to be in there. Zenith also did a building session here. Doing the announcing, you can kind of hear his voice in the background maybe. That's Mike Willingham, and he's been a regular commentator here at Sebring and some other shows. By the way, the man you just passed by there in the window, that's Bob Wood. He was the original director of this show when it first started, and for several years did a great job. Everybody loved Bob's leadership of this show. Obviously got it off to a good start. Now we're looking at Don Reese. He's the southern dealer for the Topaz from the Ecolot company. Handsome little airplane there, and Don's got a smile because he's had a good show, I think. After that is the Legend. This is the L600. They had a couple of them here. I wonder if that other one got sold, but this is a nice flying 80% scale Cessna 182 look-alike, and it flies beautifully. We flew it, and you can see the pilot report to get more details. Next up, SWT Aviation. This is the Southeast U.S. distributor for Carbon Cub and Cub Crafters, and they're doing a fine job for that company, which has moved up the ranking now to be the #1 producer of light sport aircraft in the United States. And speaking of the leader, for many, many years, they slipped one notch now, but I think they'll be back, is CTLS and the CTLSI from Flight Design General Aviation it's called now, but their U.S. distributor is Flight Design USA, run by Tom Pagini. Everybody respects him and is doing well. And they've got some of their dealerships talking to each other right now, working things out and doing good. So that's Tom Gutman and John Hurst you saw there. And right beyond them, a couple of handsome little gyro planes from the American, it's called the American Ranger, the AR-1. That's from Silverlight. And they've had a great run. They've only been in business 3 years, but they're doing really well. Then the Sea Ray, but it's not about Sea Ray we're looking at here. It's something called a Flare Assist, which helps seaplane pilots land on glassy water. It's a nice idea. We'll have more video about that as well. Next up is a completely full display space for the CGS Hawk, and CGS Hawks there in various configurations, including one down here on the end in what we like to call bare bones. They're having a nice run. That design was revitalized by Terry Short, and it's back in action. CTLS, again, there's multiple positions for this company because they've got a lot of products that people really like. Viking aircraft engines having a great run based on the Honda engine. And they use brand new engines, by the way. These aren't junkyard engines or anything. They do a nice job. They've got them in several power configurations. Using a very small engine is the Aero Strike. This is from Ukraine, and they've done a nice job of building this, basically a machine for hang glider pilots who want to go aloft but don't want to be towed up or don't live near mountainous locations. All right, now we're at Sport Cruiser. They had a big tent up here, but it was one of those blow-up tents, and it's been windy enough that they had to take it down, so they're just out in the sun today. But Sport Cruiser has been one of our great success stories. Last year we had information, 2016, they were the big seller of light sport aircraft in America. They do a nice job with their display there, so continuing to do good. We've also got some non-LSA people that wanted to be part of this show. Here's one of them. It's the beautiful, all the heavily carbon Cirrus SR-22. Not a light sport at all, but a handsome airplane, and they've sold I think more than 5,000 of those, so they've had quite a run. Speaking of selling quite a few in a handsome airplane, the first showing of Icon outside of Oshkosh in many years. Nice to see those folks there. This is out of their Tampa operation, where they do flight training as a factory level service that they provide. Another non-light sport aircraft is the Aviat Husky, but they're down here appealing to people because light sport guys don't just fly light sport. But of course that is our focus, and we always like to come back to simple ones like this beautiful little bush cat from South Africa, sold in the United States by Aero Sport, a group out in Wisconsin, run by this gentleman right there. That's Jeremy Knoll. He and his wife Daniela run that company. Here's the flythebeach.com guys. They're back again. Good to see you again, folks. They do a nice job with some flight training. If you need to learn how to do fly off the water, that's a good place to go. Taxi and Buy out there is one of the ELA gyros. He's going out for a flight. They've been having a ball here, even though it's windy. They can fly in almost any kind of wind, it seems, and they've been doing it steadily. Next up is Pipistrelle and their lovely Zenith motor glider, which comes in a flex form, meaning you can have more than one length of wing on this airplane. You may be able to tell out there at the wingtip. It pulls off and you can put on longer or shorter wings. The Merlin PSA, shown here in two forms, is here displaying their HKS engine, run there by Chip Irwin, who you just passed, giving you the peace sign. A lot of interest in his airplane. He's got people standing around it right now. Nobody's standing around the RV-12 right now. They must be off taking a break. Well deserved, I'm sure, but RV-12 is one of our great success stories in light aviation. Lots of those being sold both in kit form and in fully built form. You can get them either way. The BD folks also have a light sport type aircraft. This isn't that. This is the BD4 that many people know about. Very simple build job in a 4-seat aircraft. But they do have a 2-seat light sport aircraft and a single-seater as well. One of the fun things that we've had going on here at Sebring is, and my wife is up doing it right at this moment, is flights in their tri-motor. That's the Ford tri-motor from, gosh, I think the late 20s that first came out. And anyway, there are a lot of people having fun flying that. These EAA chapters do a really great job of helping people learn about building airplanes. You can see they've got an example here. This is the Lake Placid High School chapter, and they often have presence here on the Sebring Airport because this is kind of their home airport. Speaking of home airports, now you're going to see a glimpse into the vast Lockwood Aviation Supply headquarters. This is where the air cams come from. That's what you see right there. But they also provide all kinds of service for Rotax aircraft engines and many things more. They supply a lot of goods to this community. We're very glad they're in the business. They've been doing it a long time. Back to that air cam here. Here's a couple of examples you just saw. One of them with a really interesting airbrush paint job on it. I have no idea how long somebody spent to paint that airplane, but I'm telling you, Aircam's one of my all-time favorite airplanes. Delightful flying machine that is sporty despite its big size and twin engines. And of course, that has Rotax engines on it. Here's the Rotax engine space with Dean Vogel in there giving us the attention salute. He does a lot of good stuff at training people how to operate, work on these engines, as well as selling those engines. Here's the folks from Super Pipistrelle and the LS model. This is a Brazilian amphibious airplane that with bi-wings, kind of an unusual choice. Nice flying airplane. And a speedy one right beyond it here is the Evolution VL3. This one in retractable gear and constant speed. They do have a fixed gear version of this too, but a lot of people are thinking well about this particular airplane. Beyond that is a couple of the very handsome Viper SD4s. We did a pilot report on our interview on one of those earlier. Handsome airplane being sold in the United States from an operator down here in Florida now. And then we come to the gyroplane guy. This is the folks that are right here, based right here on Sebring Airport, selling a lot of these very handsome Spanish designed. ELA is the name of the company, and they have several different models. All these very, very lovely executed gyroplanes. Just beyond that, you see down there the bright yellow Aero Strike A240. This is from Rob Rollison and his Indiana-based operation. He's had one of the best runs in all of light sport aviation, steadily moved up the charts and is doing well. And he's right next to the drone zone here. This is kind of an exciting thing that happened last year for the first time. This is drone racing. Only this is the quietest racing you'll ever hear. These little drones move around so fast, I can't even keep up with them. I think you have to be about 12 years old to really be competitive in this game. But they're exciting and they're drawing some people. Here we see a Velocity. The Velocity is a kit-built aircraft. And just beyond that now, here's a story all in and of itself. You know the Jabiru. This is the J230 SP. They've got a new J230D now. But the difference here is it's being represented by a new organization, U.S. Sport Planes, and longtime veteran of the industry, Scott Sebring, back in there talking to a customer right now. He's the man in blue, you see. Scott. All right, here's the STEMI. They market this thing like crazy, and it's going to take us a while to go buy the STEMI because this has, I believe, it's a 50-foot wingspan. This is a motor glider. It's not the cheapest airplane on the field by a long shot, but it is a very interesting piece of technology out of Germany, but being sold vigorously in the United States. They go to a lot of these shows. We're glad to have them here. Beyond that, the Pipistrelle guys, they're having an amazing run with this very handsome 5th generation LSA design called the Pipistrelle. They have it now with all 3 Rotax engines, the 912, 912IS, and the turbo. And they are flying the new 915 Rotax over in Europe, and we're going to see more about that at an upcoming air show, we think. Inside the tent, we visited with a few different companies. There's several in there, but the ones that we went and did extra video with include the folks at Level, the folks at Vertical Power, the True Track, and the autopilot specialists in the business. We also talked to Duke Elise props that are all over the place, and of course Behringer wheels that are also all over the place. These folks are regulars at the show. Now we're going by a part of the show that everybody hits at one time or another. That's the food vendors, and there's a new thing in food vending at air shows, and you're going to see it here a little bit. Food trucks. Food trucks are all over the United States. Many big cities focus on these, and these folks can just now roll in their food truck and serve up stuff. Variety of foods here available for you, and they've been doing a pretty good business here at the show. After we get by all the various food vendors that are here, you can see people lining up and walking away with food. We come to the big Tecnam US presence here. They've got their own hangar, so they don't have a need for a separate display space, and maybe that's just as well because they've got so many airplanes to show, they almost need this great big hangar. And back in there, you'll see all their models from the beautiful 2008 we just passed. I think one of their prettiest airplanes, but they've got high and low wings. They've got single engine and twin engine. Tecnam's got kind of something for everybody. All right, so now we're down at the far end of the display space, and we're going to go by a series of forum tents that they've erected here. People have been given forums all day long, every day, on a variety of subjects, and you know what? There's something here to help educate you about various things. Full schedule of forums here at Sebring. They work pretty hard at that, and they've done a good job of it. So I was a participant in one of the panel discussions, and good to see almost a full crowd in there. Next up for us will be Stewart Covering Systems. They're the folks that make the fabric that cover an awful lot of these airplanes here, and they've got a little tent there where they can show you kind of how it all works to do that. Some people are a little nervous about doing it, but they can help you learn. Then we come to Just Aircraft, a pair of the Super Stoll airplanes that these people have really turned some heads with this fantastic performing machine. They are working on a 103 airplane, and we found out more about that. You'll learn more at Sun and Fun about that airplane. And also, we'll do a pilot report on the airplane we're just passing here now. This is the Paradise P1NG. This particular one is not a new model, so we're going to take a brand new one at Sun and Fun and put her through the paces there. There's Ed Ricks. He's the representative of this. And there is the Chipper from B-Light Aviation. That's been attracting quite a bit of attention. So we'll go buy one more of these food trucks, and you can see people are waiting in line to buy. This one's with selling some island food is their promotion here, but we're glad those folks are here to keep us all fed and keep our thirst down. So we end up our little fast tour with the folks at Swift Aircraft Fuels. These people have really done a job. They've worked very hard at providing UL94 avgas that can be used by all these airplanes, but also by many other aircraft in the fleet that simply cannot use some of the fuels that are being available now. So as we worry about the disappearance some people are concerned about for 100 low lead, Swift Fuel stands ready to step in there and help fill that gap. So that's our little tour of Sebring 2018. Hope you enjoyed the quick drive by all these beautiful airplanes. Next year, come on down. And next stop, Sun and Fun 2018.